When I was a teenager in the 1990s, I remember watching a made-for-TV movie about a scientist who found a parallel reality in the space between matter. For many years since, I tried finding this movie, but I couldn't remember the title. And at some point in the mid-2000s, I did manage to locate the title, but I couldn't find the movie. And then, of course, another few years passed and I forgot the title again. And then it took more searching, usually using random plot points or just descriptions of what I vaguely remembered the plot being. But eventually I did find it, and I managed to purchase a copy on DVD. The movie is called Tempting Fate. And the plot isn't too far from what I recalled. A scientist finds a parallel reality, and when I remembered it as being described as the space between matter, here's how he actually describes it in the movie.
I should be able to access the negative space between the subatomic particles. If my theory is correct, negative space between these particles, there exists a window to another universe.
Now, when this scientist first explores the parallel reality, we assume it's a perfect society. Everything about it is seemingly enjoyable. People are super nice. They don't know sarcasm. They don't even know what the middle finger is. Cars are shared. And the police officers are seemingly incredible. If they see you walking your dog without a leash and there's a leash law, they'll just give you a leash straight up. Like, that's the way policing should work. It makes sense.
Your dog's not on a leash.
Oh, yes. I know. You see...
Hey, I've got one.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But then the plot starts to unfold. The scientist finds it difficult to explore the parallel reality while also maintaining his custom equipment, so he recruits some of his friends to explore the parallel world for him and to report back all of their findings. However, they love it there. So they decide to stay, and they send him an asshole message basically saying, yeah, we're not coming back and we're not going to be reporting to you. This is too perfect of a place. Goodbye. It's only after the fact that they start to discover that there's something really wrong with people. A lot of people seem dialed down and docile, and the police keep eyeing them in a way that makes them uncomfortable. And of course, before we know it, the lottery happens. And we've seen this in dystopian fiction before, where there's a lottery or a game. It doesn't matter what it's called, but if you win the lottery, basically you're fucked. You've basically been selected to be hunted down and murdered by every member of the population. On top of that, the reason the police was paying a lot of attention to them was because one of them is overweight, and being fat is illegal in this otherwise perfect society.
Well, you're not getting any thinner, Mr. Bollandine.
So what? My body is my temple, right?
You're way out of pattern, mister.
What?
Oh, and remember how I told you that everybody seemed docile? That's because if you convey any emotion whatsoever, you get lobotomized. It's regular practice in this society to cut people's brains up if they question authority. For example, in the parallel universe, if you're grieving the loss of your loved one, you're essentially lobotomized so that you no longer feel the emotion that's troubling you. Also, there's a scene where the surgeon he somehow manages to get himself a job in this parallel reality because his alternate version of himself was killed in a war. And they just stage it like, oh, I came back. I was just like a prisoner of war. But basically what happens is he discovers that when he's on his shift, he cannot leave. They lock the doors to the hospital so none of the staffers can leave. Can you imagine the field day employers would have if they could lock the doors on their employees? Not a perfect world at all. It just seemed that way at first. Again, it's a made-for-TV movie from the 1990s called Tempting Fate. If you're into science fiction, film, and TV, try this one out and maybe include it in your collection. Not enough people know about it, and I really want to talk about it.
For the last 10 months, you've been exploring the theory that within the inner space of each atom, between the particles, there could be the chance that whole other universes exist. Invisible to our own, right?